So you were here for what, 2-3 days?
It's Saturday. Yeah, 2 days, yeah. 2 days,
So
full,
just
full
running from meeting to meeting. Yes. Well, we're delighted that you're here with us today. I think I'm going to start, although we said we would wait until 10, but people can come in just to give us a little bit more time. So I see a lot of my students here. Welcome, welcome. And also welcome to our distinguished guests. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sanja Pesik and I teach at the Department of Justice, Law and Criminology. And today we're delighted to host this important discussion regarding Serbia's ongoing political, I hope, transformation, hosted by the American University's School of Public Affairs. So today we gather at a critical juncture for Serbia, a nation experiencing profound political upheaval and grassroots mobilization, and the events that are unfolding in Belgrade and across the country signify a pivotal moment with repercussions that extend well beyond its borders. The student protests in Serbia, you see all the flickering lights in the dark night here behind us, which began in November of 24, have emerged as one of the most transformative moments in the country's modern history, both in scope and societal impact. Triggered by the catastrophic collapse of the Novi Sad railway station concrete canopy and a tragedy that claimed 16 lives, the protests swiftly evolved from a localized outcry into a nationwide demand for accountability, transparency, and systemic reform. And so what started as a student-led initiative has grown into Serbia's largest mass mobilization since the fall of Slobodan Milosevic in 2000, uniting hundreds of thousands across sectors of society. By December of 24, student protests had paralyzed 3/4 of Serbia's universities, halting all academic activities. They demand full transparency regarding renovation documents related to the collapse in Novi Sad, accountability for those who committed violence against protesters, the release of detained activists, and increased funding for higher education. The movement rapidly expanded beyond academic circles as farmers, miners, and even retirees joined in support. On March 15 of 25, between 300,000 and 500,000 people gathered in Belgrade for what is now regarded as Serbia's biggest or largest protest in history. Demonstrators called for sweeping reforms to combat systemic corruption and state capture under President Aleksandar Vučić's Serbian Progressive Party. This is definitely a misnomer. Which has been undermining democratic principles since it took power in 2012. The movement has sustained momentum thanks to its decentralized structure and nonpartisan approach, fostering widespread public support. According to some polls, 80% of Serbia's population backs the protests. Furthermore, this movement reflects a regional trend of unrest across Southeast Europe, with similar protests against corruption and authoritarianism in North Macedonia, Greece, Bulgaria, Turkey, and elsewhere. Serbia's student protests signify much more than just a reaction to a tragic disaster. They represent a crucial turning point in the country's fight for democracy and accountability. I truly hope it is a moment of normative transformation that we have all been waiting for a long time. As these protests extend into their 6th month, their impact on society and governance continues to deepen significantly. And so today, Serbia's opposition leaders and civil society activists are increasingly crucial in advocating for democratic reforms alongside students. Today's gathering showcases 4 key figures from Serbia's Green Left Front and movement of free citizens who lead these initiatives. On our far left, we have Jelena Jarinic. She is a professor of constitutional and administrative law at Union University in Belgrade. In 2022, she was elected to the Parliament of Serbia as a member of the We Must coalition. She later joined the Green Left Front, where she advocates for democratic reforms, environmental protection, and enhancement in local governance. Dobrica Veselinovic is a long-standing activist and co-founder of Don't Let Belgrade Drown, opposing controversial, to say the least, urban development projects. He has been a member of the Parliament of Serbia since 2023. As a prominent leader in the newly formed Green Left Front, he focuses on green transition, environmental policies, and sustainable urban living. Ana Oreg is the vice president of the Movement of Free Citizens and has been a member of the Parliament of Serbia since 2022, championing democratic values, transparency, and civic participation in political sphere. And finally, we have Marko Vujicic, who serves as the International Secretary of the Green Left Front, bringing extensive experience in parliamentary development and civic engagement, which is, of course, crucial for strengthening the connections between Serbia's opposition parties and the international community. So these leaders here today provide invaluable insights into Serbia's future as they interact with US policymakers, students, academics, and civil society leaders during their very brief visit to Washington, DC. So please, thank you for joining us today, and as we delve into these pressing issues shaping Serbia's futures, and let us now welcome our esteemed panelists to share their insights on this pivotal moment in Serbia's history. After the presentations, of course, we will take questions. Thank you.
I need to start then. Thank you all for coming, and sorry for all of you coming a little bit late. We don't have so much time, so we started before 10, which is, I guess, not so usual. Thank you for the invitation. So we are here basically to a little bit talk to you about our experience in mobilizing, organizing, and political struggle. It is. To use a microphone or not? I guess.
It's up to you. This room is always.
Whatever it is easier for you. If it is
more clear
with the sound, then it's okay. As you know, politicians such as we are, we like to talk on the microphone and standing over there. But I will sit. No, it's okay. So in this brief visit to the States, I must say that we were kind of very shocked by the things which are happening. All of the things that you are witnessing and experiencing now with the democracy backsliding, with the capturing of the institution, with the arrests of the activists, with the pressures on the university and the free press, and that is something that we are living for 10 plus years. So please feel free to, after our short inputs, ask questions. We can go in deep with anything that you are interesting. So everything which is happening here is something which is happening in Serbia for a decade or more. Just yesterday we got one friend which is columnist for the website web portal got arrested because something that he said. We got this 6 persons which are only a month from now in the prison because their phones were tapped and they were talking about some protests. They got arrested and then their jail time was also postponed. And we also got the police in one university which is blocked in smaller city of Niš, police entering the university because a dean supposedly allegedly called them. So that is something which is happening, and that is something which we are witnessing for a long period. What then we decided to do? It's not to go into the apathy or going into some kind of despair that okay, the ruling party is so strong and we cannot do anything. We then start to organize. So we, as a Green Left Front, you can imagine from the name, we're coming from a leftist and green political landscape. In the political system in Serbia, it's a parliamentary democracy with a 20 plus different political parties. It's something which is totally different than here. But we are basically representing the minority of the population. And we are not pledging to say that we are kind of majority, that we are speaking on the behalf of majority of Serbian population, but from our starts, and we started as active movement involved in different struggles against the shady and non-transparent urban development. We started struggling for and advocating for more sustainable development of our cities, for more bike lanes, to protect the green spaces, to organize around the neighborhoods. So we started because we were sensing that nobody is speaking about issues that is important to us. For example, nobody was speaking those time 10 years ago about affordable housing, about the affordable and free education. Nobody spoke that our cities should be places where people are meeting and greeting together, and not the places for the speculation of the financial elites. And then step by step, we saw when we use different methods of protest, we use the different methods of complaining to the institutions, to writing the legal cases, legal charges. Professor Jelena will spoke more about, I guess, more about that. And then we saw the limits of that, that level of organizing. We didn't want it at the beginning to organize and register the political party. If you ask people who are now MPs or people who are involved in our political party, do you imagine yourself 10 years from now that you will be member of the parliament or member of the local parliament or be on some electoral list? Probably majority of them will say, no, no way, that's for somebody else. But we saw that nobody is talking about and nobody is representing our interests and our ideas and our values. So we gradually start organizing and then register the political party, then run on the couple of cycles of the elections. And Serbia has this political innovation in the election cycles. Here, the election cycles is in 4 years. We usually have elections in every 1.5 or 2 years. That is used by the ruling party as a method to push the agenda even further and to win the elections easier. There are plenty of irregularities in that. I guess others will be speaking about that. My goal here is to motivate you to be engaged, and motivated and organized and mobilized on every level that is possible. Sometimes that is the level of your neighborhood assembly, on the building where you're living or the neighborhood where you're living. Sometimes that is the different NGOs, different civil society organizations, unions. Sometimes that is the political parties. But why that is important? I think that is highly important because when we start organizing, that we are not letting some things go under our participation, and then it's easier for every other moment for the future generations that are coming. You see, and that I will finish with that. You see here, and we are seeing that all through all of the Europe, that people on the other side, on the political aisle of right wing or some hate speech organizations, they're organizing a lot. In Europe, we have similarities in the regime from Hungary to Serbia to Slovakia. Similar stuffs are happening through all over the world. So let not let despair and this kind of negativity to overcome us. Let's organize, let's mobilize us, and you will see in the example of Serbia what is achieved so far. So thank you, and yeah, we'll finish now. No? We have time for others.
Okay, I will tell you more about these protests that is now going on. Maybe some insight. It's working. Okay. Yeah. First, to imagine why this tragedy caused such an outrage, it's because it was an avoidable event. So only month earlier, the government with President Vucic and with the ministers reopened that train station. They are spent a lot of money, our money, the government, yeah, to rebuild the train station. And only month later, the train station collapsed and killed 16 people. So really, it was an avoidable event. That is why youth or students stand up. They're blocked their universities, so they are practically sleeping there, living there, and then they woke up the other side of Serbia, and people are going there, cook their food, bring them mattresses, everything they need. So something happened which we called empathy, and that is something it's new. And nobody can tell the students that they are not right because they're young. It's about their future and their country. And that is why everyone is supporting them. And they are actually doing an incredible job. They were walking by foot through whole Serbia, hundreds of miles. In that way, they moved all the people in the smallest cities and places. And actually now they are riding their bikes to Strasbourg. I don't know if you know that. That is about 12 days ride, and they are, I think, now in Munich or something like that. Yeah, today. And in every place, they people are waiting for them. They're gathering to see them, and they are actually doing a really great job. And that is what is different now, because we had protests before, but this is a really, really different kind of protest. So if you want to ask anything about it, then we can talk later. Thank you.
Okay, well, my task would be to, kind of describe how it started, to continue what Anna said, and how it's going. So basically, this is not the first time that like big protests are happening in Serbia. Sanya mentioned that we in the Green Left Front were once gathered in a movement called "Don't Let Belgrade Drown" or "Down." And this was basically a movement of people gathered in opposition to one of the first big corruption projects of this government, and that's the Belgrade waterfront. So basically, what they did, they gave away probably the most valuable piece of land in Belgrade, which is on the waterfront, to some shady investors from the Emirates, and basically built like, I don't know, tens of apartment buildings and like shopping malls, even though this was never intended to be at that particular spot. So they went over all kinds of, they changed urban plans, they changed legislation, they introduced special rules for this particular project. And also they actually in 2016, just when elections were happening, like in the election night, they forcefully tore down several buildings in the neighborhood. This was not done officially by the state, but with people with these phantom masks during the night. And as a result, a person actually died from basically heart attack after being stressed out because he was tied. He was like a security guard in the area. So this was at that time, people were outraged, and upon our call. They went out into the streets, and these were the first big protests after, let's say, 2000. Then again, we had protests in 2019, 2020, 2021, on different occasions. But basically, as these protests now, these are all protests against corruption. So different kinds of projects, different kinds of ideas of the government, how to steal more money in general. And every protest was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Nowadays in Serbia, you have like every day you have like 100 protests all around the country. So some of them are really small, like 100 or 200 people gathering, and some of them are like this. We're in middle of March, maybe as much as 500,000 people gathered in Belgrade. On that very occasion, on 15th of March, the government also used a kind of a sonic sound weapon. Some of you might have heard about that, and now they're denying that this is their doing. But basically, what even with that kind of basically violence and violent reactions by the state authorities, none of these people were ready to fight back with violence. So everybody, basically all the protesters stayed calm, and this shows that people don't want a violent solution of any kind, but that they want this be solved in some kind of an institutional manner. And in a normal country, normal with all that I've mentioned, this would be in elections. However, as Dobrica mentioned, we don't have free elections in Serbia. The elections are completely rigged. Just to mention some of the things, we have a rigged voter register. There were like in 2023, but probably even before, there were like massive migration of voters where you would the authorities would move people from one part of the country to vote somewhere else to influence the outcome, but also they were busing in people from Bosnia, probably Montenegro as well, so neighboring countries. For example, the president of Republika Srpska also votes in Belgrade. But other people as well. So the media are completely closed. The opposition, as well as civil society activists, are demonized by the authorities. So that kind of an authoritarian atmosphere that you probably read about from other countries as well. So what then, if we cannot basically overthrow the regime in elections? There is a possibility to have some kind of a transitional or interim government, which would then bring conditions for free elections. However, the government is now, or the regime is not accepting this, and basically pressured by these protests, the prime minister has resigned, and we are now about to have a new government. But this person who was proposed by the president of the country to be the new prime minister is just a puppet, basically. He is a doctor and endocrinologist with apparently no political experience so far. And also, we expect that the ministers will also be similar. So it's basically the regime is buying time in order to have elections in the period which is most suitable for them. But the bottom line is that they cannot govern the country anymore. They cannot hold a local assembly meeting or even the meeting of the Progressive Party in any village or town in Serbia, because people are gathering in front of their premises. They're throwing eggs or I don't know, tomatoes or flour, and then it kind of, you know, because people are outraged and they are not taking it anymore. So basically, the regime will fall one way or another in the foreseeable future. And what we wanted to convey as a message is that basically, especially in the United States, that there are forces in the country who are, you know, willing and also able to take over once that happens. I will let Marco wrap up.
Thank you. And maybe just to complete this picture, I will focus on a little bit more on this international part of the whole thing. And what I will try to summarize for you to get this complete picture is that what was the role of internationals and how did we come to a 12 years of regime that we currently have? I think it's very important because, you know, a lot of small powers, small countries largely depend on relations with bigger ones and how this tide has shifted. Secondly, I wanted to maybe retell you why we are here and what is our message in Washington. Why are we here at this very moment? And the third thing I want to talk about and maybe inspire some debate, what we can all do as friends of democracy together in the years to come. So how did we come to this and what was the role of internationals? And there is one specific word that is being used and floated around. It's called stabilocracy. And that is the situation, or it's a concept, if you like, when the powers that were supposed to be on the side of democracy are giving the priority to stability. And in the fragile regions, such as the Western Balkans, this means that the leaders are being tolerated in the backsliding of democracy, in curbing the freedom of the media, in silencing the civil society, as long as they provide stability externally. And Vucic was very smart in navigating this process. So he knows that Serbia is still the largest country in the region with an immense, you know, not a global power, obviously, but a regional influence, and that there are still unresolved issues in the Balkans. There is a Kosovo issue that is unresolved. There is a Bosnia and Herzegovina in a constant crisis for 30 years after the Dayton peace agreement. And, you know, the person like that would use this to weaponize his own position. And that means that he will say to internationals that he will be delivering on security and he will be delivering on stability. And in return, others should not deal and, you know, interfere into the issues like internally, like how the elections are run. What are the media there? What is the media scene? How is civil society treated? So this is the situation that we have in Serbia for the last 12 years, is that those who, like we are pro-European, pro-democratic powers, and those countries and those powers we expected most to be on our side, like in the European Union or in the United States, if you like, have been siding consistently with Alexander Vucic. And that is also the case with all the other great powers. So he managed to create a system where he gave something to everybody. So to the Russians, he gave our oil and petrol industry. To the Americans, he was selling the weapons which then they exported to Ukraine. To Chinese, he basically sold the whole copper ore and gold reserves of the country. And to the Europeans, he's now making deals to sell, to give our lithium deposits and, you know, to open mines. The regard for the environmental standards is near nil. They don't care about it as long as he's preserved in power. So this is the situation we are in. And that is the international role that has been played for too long. And I think we are now reaching the point because of the popular uprising back home, is that internationals are somehow looking into and seeing that this cannot continue. And we are here actually, and I'm coming then to my second point, is that this stabilocracy is dead. It's gone, it's not coming back. And that means in practice that Vucic is no longer going to be able to deliver on anything that he promises, be it a lithium to Europeans, be the weapons to Ukraine, being to to do anything, because the country is literally ungovernable at the moment. That means that over 100 protests every day are taking place around the country. Some of them are small, some of them are big. The party headquarters of the ruling party are being consistently surrounded by people. When people, learn that the party is gathering, they get out to the streets and block the party meeting. When the assemblies of towns and municipalities are in seating, citizens do the same. So at every turn, he will be challenged, their governance will be challenged, and that means that he needs to deal with that issue, and that means that he will not be able to deliver on any issue that he promised, be it, as I said, lithium or Kosovo or Bosnia or anything really. And that is our message here in Washington, that we want to say that maybe it is a time for the administration here, for the policymakers here, to start distancing themselves from the regime, because obviously the tide is shifting, and it's not, and like Genie, as I said, is out of the bottle and is not coming back. Now we are, of course, in a very interesting time here, and we have a leader here who is not really interested in, democracy, or the values that we as the Green Left and liberal parties are representing. So the issue is very challenging for us. Like, what do we have to offer? Trump regime is very transactional in nature, and we as an opposition parties do not have many things to offer. But I do believe that there is always a space to find a common ground, even with this kind of administration. And at some points in international relations, you cannot be too idealistic. You need to be a little bit practical, and you need to see what are these common grounds. And we will try it in meetings also today at Capitol Hill to try to seek these common grounds and to see where we can find them. And finally, I think that internationally, we as pro-democratic people and are not cooperating and working together as much as we should. I think that the right-wingers are doing it much, much better, that they're aligning, that they're learning from each other. They are the people, when you think about Serbia, that's a one case of a country of around 7 million people. You have the same thing happening in Hungary. You have the same thing happening in Turkey, which is enormous place. You have the same thing happening in Georgia. And if you follow the playbook will be the same. The silencing of civil society, curbing of the freedom of the media, rigging the elections, voter buying, transfers of voters. Same, it's literally the same. And now we have a major power, the power that is moving in the direction that obviously there are signs of challenging the constitutional order and the system. And what is worrying for us internationally is that we are not really sharing experiences, we are not cooperating. Democrats internationally are not cooperating. And I think that's the message for all of us. And it's not that we have the knowledge and you have to listen, but it's also that we need to kind of team up and build networks and alliances if we want to, create this better future that we claim that we know what is best for society and we know how this society should look like. So yeah, these are the three main points. I'm open for questions. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I see the hands are up already. Okay. Let me just give you so just introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ben. For you, you were just speaking of the sort of failure to cooperate across international borders. I wanted to know, though, are there any cooperative relationships that the Green Left Front has with other oppositional parties in the region? And is there sort of a shared platform emerging, or are we not even there yet?
Of course, I mean, in this sense, Europe is quite well connected with this inter-party cooperations. Last December, our party has become a full member of the European Green Party, which is a European federation of green parties at the European level. Anna's party is for a longer time already a member of the Liberal International ALDE group, Alliance of Liberals and Democrats in Europe. That is a federation of European liberal parties. So this cooperation is actually going quite well. We have an immense support since the protests have been started from the progressive forces in Europe, and that is sometimes really heartwarming. And I think it is really good that we now have this, a direct line with Brussels, where we can actually have statements and brief MEPs, members of European Parliament, when they have their debates. And this is done from, let's say, more progressive, of course, parties like the Green Party, like the Liberal Party, like the Social Democrat Party. In Europe we have different, it's not only two, we have like different families of on more ideological level. And I think that's why also this bike ride to Strasbourg is so important. Because they started in Novi Sad, that is a town in the north of the country. They moved first to Budapest, which is a straight line to the north. They were hosted by the mayor and the citizens over there, who is, by the way, also a Green Party mayor. Then they went to Vienna. Vienna is very close to Budapest. Now they moved to Linz. They now arriving in Germany, to Munich. They will go to Frankfurt, and ultimately they will come to Strasbourg. And Strasbourg is a capital of like the seat, not the capital, it's a seat of the European Parliament and the seat of Council of Europe, where they will present their demands. And this international solidarity and the way how they were hosted and the way how citizens, not just our diaspora, of course, our diaspora is large and it's at the forefront of these events, but also you will have the regular citizens of Budapest coming out. And I think that is the sentiment that we need to create. And I think that the students' movement managed to sparkle this imagination in the minds that, we need to, shaken up the Europe as well, that they need to wake up so that we end. So I think that it's some novelty. From Serbia usually have a bad news coming for the decades, and now we have something really unique to offer through the students movement and how they organize themselves, how they engage with the direct democracy, how they created their own rules in their plenums at the plenaries at the faculties. That is some novelty that might be sparking some movements towards direct democracy, maybe in Europe and maybe around the world. So I think it's very important, this international cooperation. Yeah.
Could I just, since I have the microphone, could I just ask you very quickly, it connects to Ben's question. What is your cooperation with similar or friendly or sister parties in the region? Do you have collaboration in the region? It's common for us to communicate with the centers. I just wonder what is the.
Yeah,
It was especially. So I don't know how much of the geography do you know, but look at the Google Maps at the end of the day. So the region was one country 50 years or 60 years ago, and then dissolved 30 years ago. Yeah. So my history is not so good at this point. No, nevertheless. So the region is connected by the same language. So that is one of the important things, and shared the common legacy of living in socialist Yugoslavia. So especially for us personally, especially those connections with the people in Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Northern Macedonia also are now overlapped with the political aspirations and political movements in also those countries. So somehow generationally, we are connected with our colleagues and friends in Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Northern Macedonia, and depends from the country to country. Also, the similar people who were previously, and we know them, we know each other from civil society movements, cultural production, are entering the politics. So in that sense, for example, the mayor of Zagreb, the Croatian capital, is my long time, like 20 plus years friends. And we were basically having the same trajectory of political engagement and involvement. We all of us started to kind of, to little bit to correct the system. So we didn't plan to go and enter the politics and then go to elections like 20 years ago. We started by saying, okay, this is wrong what the government or the mayor or whatever is doing. We think the development of our societies should look differently. And then we saw this wall of not a wall of ignorance from the side of the system. And that I think is also important. So everything which is happening in public space, everything which is happening on the outskirts of the society means that society is not processing all of the needs and all of the ideas and all of the wishes of the population. So if something is expressed, for example, in the public space, that is a signal that cannot be expressed and taken care upon in the system, in the institutions. So in that sense, yeah, cooperation is huge. That goes also from the hammer of the both or the governments in each country, because also political elites which are right-wing and they don't want to show that there is a connectivity and there is a potentiality in cooperation, they're always playing on the game on the card of the fear and on the fear of otherness. So it's always this kind of, okay, we are now stick together because we are Serbs, and then those Croatians are against us, but that goes vice versa. Or we are Serbs, they are Kosovites or whatever. So we are advocating always beyond the national borders. Because all of the things that we are also advocating, for example, the climate change, what is the border for floods or for the heat wave? It's not or for the air pollution or water pollution. It is not existing, and we are all affected by humans. Nevertheless, while we are living in Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, or states or whatever, we will be all affected upon.
Thank you. First of all, my name is Antonio Segura. Thank you so much for coming here and giving us your time. I have a couple questions, but I will only ask one for now. So the first question I'd like to ask is, does the Serbian government protect student protesters or protesters who are going in these movements? If not, then who does? Just to give some context, here in the United States, we have a lot of protests about domestic corruption, but also foreign issues. And currently people are being detained, arrested. I know there were some students at Georgetown recently who had student visas revoked. So I know there's a lot of political unrest here in the United States, but does this happen in Serbia? And more so, what advice would you give? Thank you.
Yeah. Well, there are similarities between what's happening in Serbia and the US in the sphere of higher education, but there are also big differences in let's say the system, how it functions, and that also the reaction of the state. In Serbia, higher education is mostly, I mean, universities are mostly established by the state and almost completely funded by the state. So also, for example, teachers' salaries come from the state budget. Also, there is a constitutionally, on the other hand, there is a constitutionally guaranteed autonomy of the university, which, among other things, means that no one, including the police, can enter the premises of a university if they're not invited by the university administration, so by the dean or the rector or whatever. So this is a very important because it from the very beginning it kind of guards the students who decided to block the universities and stay there. At the beginning, I mean, the state was aware, state authorities were aware that they cannot just, attack a bunch of young people who are just, standing up for values, but also because, like, people, just like regular people who are, now out of universities, there was a huge wave of solidarity in terms of, people bringing them food, whatever they needed, but also going out into protest. So at the very beginning, the authorities did not react. I mean, there was no police in these daily gatherings. because also besides blocking the faculties and the school buildings, the students also every day come out in front of these buildings, and then they're joined by citizens, and then there is a 16-minute silence. So, because 16 people died in the accident in the train station. So imagine all these people holding their phones up, they're in complete silence. So this was, you know, in a way, even though when I talk about it, it gives you goosebumps, right? It was very powerful, and that's how it gathered lots of people, you know, and when there is so many people, then the police is, you know, reluctant to react. At the very beginning, they didn't, you know, officially react, but they would send people, like angry people, because we're blocking the street, who would try to, you know, go through it, but with their cars, or just yell at people or attack people. However, this didn't make people, you know, stop gathering, but it brought more people into the streets. So nowadays, when for example, one of my students is now walking to Novi Pazar on foot in a group of students, because there will be a protest there tomorrow. Then, I mean, they, like a few hundred students are like going for a few hundred kilometers by foot, different places. And now they have police escort, for instance, you know, because the government sees that it's not good for their image, you know, to hurt, you know, people like that. However, in the past few days, we have seen the rise in repression. So not necessarily directly towards students, but pressuring other people, for example, journalists, columnists, professors who haven't, you know, been paid for a month or half a month, or other people who are just like not students individually, but people who are supporting them to divert them from doing that. But it always goes, you know, both ways. You know, someone will be arrested and spend 2 or 3 nights in you know, detention, and this will, you know, they will think about if they're going out next time. But however, this will bring probably 10 or 20 new people. You know. So repression is never, you know, never a good way to go. But this, I mean, it's different because here, I mean, I think that the state is trying to influence universities in other ways. Of course, they are targeting the most vulnerable ones. I mean, students with visas. So they would silence the others. It usually works, but also they're pulling, as we understand, away funding from universities, especially for research. So the universities wouldn't support their students. So it's always, you know, divide and conquer kind of tactics.
Thank you, Professor. I appreciate that.
Hi, my name is Dionysus. It's sort of a question about how to how to like really vocalize the demands of these protesters. And like during the Black Lives Matter protests in the United States, they were massive but utterly unsuccessful. The demands were distorted by politicians, and ultimately no change was accomplished. So how have these protests gotten to not only are the initial demands starting to be met, but the regime itself is starting to collapse? And how do we go from the outburst of anger on the streets to actual change?
I don't know.
I don't know. I really don't know. It is what the students, as a student led, and I have enormous respect for everything that they're doing. So they're basically saying we want institutions to work. And their demands are not radical. They are not demands like here free education to all, or like change the world and enter the direct democracy. They're trying to do that in their own organizing. So organizing on the campuses, it's on the level of the plenums. It is some kind of direct democracy that everybody can participate. They are holding everyday meetings and then deciding day to day on each faculty. Then you have like this mega plenum or mega direct democracy event on the level of university, in which participation of 2 persons for each faculty is required, and then they're deciding on the level of the university of the city, and then that levels up on the level of the state, and they have all of the faculties have different working groups on different issues like strategy, the communication, etc. So it is kind of wide network of people involved into working every day, day to day, how to organize and what to do on the protest, and by that the demands are set to level of institutions, to work institutions, to proceed with the criminal charges for people involved in the corruption, and to what is the demands are similar like that. So in that sense, political aisles and we as a political and parliamentary political parties were reluctant to be involved in that. We're letting go them. They are leading this. They are leading this. We're just participating and have different, of course, forms of communication with different people. It's kind of normal. Huh? And in that, they're also reluctant to opposition and political parties. And they're saying, but this cannot be sorted out by the political parties which are existing now, because if they can resolve it, now we will living in a happier society. Me, maybe because I'm getting a little bit older, I'm thinking more gradually in the theory of change. So it is, especially in the situation of the small country like Serbia is, which is facing the big brain drain. We're not having, like the universities in which people from all over the countries, all over the world are coming, and there are not like so much ideas emerging. It's like kind of steadily declining of the aging population, also brain drain, and the kind of poor economical situation. It's not the situation in which like big ideas are flourishing and you are like imagining the different political system. So in that, I'm seeing that this situation in the society, which is governed by the same party for 12 years, cannot like dissolve by night, peacefully. And we are advocating for peacefully. So it's not like revolution and then everything is possible. Here, it needs to be negotiations. It needs to be some kind of very, I don't know, politically compromising, probably also the legal compromising and some kind of networks between, shady deals of the system, and then, yeah. So that is probably that is the next phase. It will be uglier before it gets better. So in that sense, because of that, we are suggesting some kind of interim or temporary government to prepare and to get back the trust of the people in the elections, in the system, in the media. Because without that, there will be decline of the trust and participation in the politics, and everything stays the same. Maybe I'm not so clear. Maybe please add, Al, but that is how I see it now.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions?
Hello, everyone. My name is Lena Petrovic. Thank you for being here today with us. My question is related to the previous one. Could you tell us something about the state of affairs among opposition parties in Serbia, and how do you plan on absorbing this uprising and movement? And do you think that these student-led protests are translatable into like a new political platform or a new ideology? Because I mean, student slogans and have been very inspirational for us here, and they're super witty, and like they are awakening. But yeah, I'm just thinking if they could be translated into like a long-term ideology or political platform. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Of course, as Dobrica said, about students' demands, they are all clear. For example, one of the most important demand is that they ask the government to release all documentation regarding the renovation of the train station. the government first said that they are confidential. Then only after a few hours, President Vučić come and said that they will release all the documents. Then they don't do all, just a part of it. So at the end of the day, it's about the problem is no trust to the institutions and no trust to this government. So as the students are asking something that may, in the first place, not seem political question, but it is. And they took time, but actually I think that I like to say that now they are the most biggest political part of Serbia, those students. And it had, I'm hoping that it will get some political, I don't know, quotes at the end. Because everything is politics. And about the opposition, we are, of course, working together. We are doing our part of the job, and I think it goes really well. It can be always be better, of course, but we are trying to find our places in this whole chaos. And we are working, all of us. So from left to right, everyone is now in the same position because we think that our first demand is to bring back the rule of laws, and after that we can talk about everything else. I don't know if I answered the question or the colleagues may something to add.
I can add something. Yeah, I mean, for months, students have been saying we just want the institutions to work and we don't care who's in power, which kind of, made us, gave us headaches, because we're all people. But however, because we know, that the institutions are not working. However, now no one, including students, believes that, this will be done by these institutions. So in their plenary sessions, they're now discussing other scenarios. Some of the plenaries, including all of the schools in Niš and the majority of them in the University of Novi Sad, have went out with some of their proposals for an interim expert government. So this is also, as well as some other organizations as Proglas, which is like a group of people from the academia, from the civil society, who are not involved directly into politics, but have been, participating in motivating people to go out to vote in previous elections and things like that. So basically, they're like, what's different now, it's not only the opposition who is like confronting the regime in this, let's say, with these institutional methods, but it's a wider front. And that's what's different, and I think that's what's better than previous times we had elections and attempted to change the government. What they're also discussing, the students as well, but also opposition parties, is what happens if, if they call elections without changing the electoral rules. And there are also scenarios to fight that. Okay, one is to have one joint list, because in Serbia, for other students who are not aware of that, we have proportionate elections. So basically, you nominate party or coalition lists with a bunch of people, which allows us to have like pre-electoral coalitions. So a list which would gather opposition parties, and as Anna said, this is also already happening, this kind of gathering, but also people from the academia, maybe even some students who are interested in that kind of path, might have a chance, even with all these electoral irregularities, even though it's uncertain. And the other way is, just block the elections or prevent the elections from happening. That's also a possible scenario if we have enough people, just like to show that these elections are not legitimate and that we don't want to participate in that way. it's a much better scenario or more effective scenario than just not going out, boycotting the election, to say staying home. And I think definitely some of these students who have been very active in their schools will definitely, continue as we have. We started out maybe not while we were students, but some of us were at the university in 2000, for instance. So every protest that we mentioned has, given us, new people involved in activism or in political activism or politics. So that's definitely going to happen. What's important is to have this like wider united front. So that way we can have a kind of a referendum atmosphere. So it would be more similar to American elections. Okay, sorry.
Last question. Hi, my name is Rebecca. Thank you so much for coming here. We really appreciate your knowledge and presence. So my question is about the stability and longevity of the movements that you've been working towards. So here in the United States, we are seeing a lot of student movements and protests just nationwide, but we're also seeing direct oppression being faced upon these protests. For example, the direct detainment and taking of students by the Department of Homeland Security and ICE, as well as the suppression of media presence at these protests. So my question to you all is, how do you keep the support and hope for these movements alive in the face of the oppression? And how do you get other people to support these movements who might not necessarily directly be involved in them or be familiar with different forms of civil unrest?
Yeah. So due the course of the history in our movement, we started as a group of friends, and that I think it's important to set out. Why? Because that notion of friendship is also making the bonds inside the structure of organization stronger. It also have a plenty of problems with it, but it makes you kind of strong in the sense that you know who is a person just near you. You know what are their limits or their potentialities for different types of pressures or struggles or possibilities or whatever the struggle is taking. And then you're developing not just organization together, but also each other together. So we are always saying that this is kind of we're pushing each other in the situations that we have never been before. Nobody of us been in this kind of struggle before, and that also make us stronger, because we know that we are not obliged to anybody else. We are not financed by anybody else. We don't have don't have any obligations. Also, it's weird to say, but also we don't have any obligations to the public. So we're doing this. We're doing this for the first time. We're trying it out. We have, I don't know how much trials and errors. I can talk for hours about where we failed and what we learned from the failure. So in that sense, for us, what is important, there's kind of circle of trust and also circle in which we are letting each other and pushing each other to different types of situations. Sometimes it's also important in the structural level to understand what are the problems to your colleagues and to a little bit let it go. That was easier before we became a structural political party. That was easier when we have this kind of everybody is equal and everybody can participate on the same level, but which is not true. There is this also, I highly recommend you, I find it, there is this, the theoretical approach of tyranny of structureless. Because this kind of tyranny of where everybody is equal in an organizational sense is not true. Some people have more time. Some people are more in the organization. Some people have more resources. By that is need for some kind of structure necessity. Now it's getting harder because now the structure of organization is also dictates some of the behaviors and also some of the rules. Now we are we are having two co-chairs, male and female, and that dictates also some kind of the rhythm because they're like there are two persons who are then obliged to do, entitled to do different things. So yeah, my recommendation is to invest highly in meetings and also in different forms of personal talks and engagements. And also it's very hard to find out what are the limits and what are the perspectives and what are the wishes of each individual, especially in the political life. It is hard for us as a, like minority party and the small green party to then figure it out what are the real incentives for people up joining out. Are they wanted to become a prime minister? That is total different game, or they just want to be involved in the politics on local level to fix things or to speak out about issues which are important.
I think our time is, I guess, running up. But just to add, I think that what was the difference of this protest was this building of these networks of solidarity, and that was the essential, like fundamental change that has happened. What it means is that when someone gets arrested, immediately people without even a call, there is no organization. Without a call, you go. Okay, there is some tweet or somebody. We are gathering in 15 minutes. Whoever can come at the police station. When when media report and some slurs and some attacks on someone, immediately somebody said, let's go to the building and block the building. So when and somebody was mentioning, when students took the university buildings, grandmas around the country started cooking lunches and meals and providing over there and bringing a bed and linen and pillows and everything. Without it was not, it was not the sentiment of, that somebody organized something. It was just out of your, like say, hunch or some intuition, you did the right thing. And I think that this was the most heartwarming thing that has happened. This building, this network of solidarity that when, when school teachers were on strike and did not get the salary, you can sustain 1 month, but the second month is difficult. The IT sector created the whole system where they would connect us who, for example, have money to pay every month, and they would distribute. I received you pay on this account, $25, and on that account $75, which is making up to somebody's salary. So these networks were so great, and they worked so great that it was even for us very much incredible that it actually. So I think that the basic asset that the attack on anyone is an attack on everyone, and that is the essential. And if you do that, then you always know what to do. There is no need for you to be called, right?
Hi, my name is Aurora. So my question is sort of a bit more about the international aspect. We're in a kind of interesting time right now where obviously we had the first Trump administration and then we thought we were rid of him and we weren't. And for better or for worse, we are kind of the dominant power in the world, whether we like it or not. So anything we do here, unfortunately, has impacts on the rest of the world. So my question is, in what ways do you expect dealing with the United States and the international stage to be different this time? And are you at all worried that any progress you make internationally would provoke a more aggressive international response from Russia?
We have international secretary here, so that's the perfect.
Let's engage in the fortune telling, right? What always strikes me is that we still call this an interesting time. It's like as we want to kind of diminish the horribleness of what is going on. And and I think when we call it like an interesting time or like a challenging time, we want to kind of find some hope in the total madness that is happening. Obviously, the system that was created, the post Second World War, is under stress, and is under stress by the power that has been responsible for maintaining it for 60, 70 years. And you know, when I think about us Europeans, we are much more spoiled than people in the US. You know why we have had 2 vacations annually and 47, days off, etc. Do you know why? Because somebody else was paying for our, and I'm now sounding like Trump, I know. Somebody else was paying for our security, and that is I mean, you can hate it, but that's a fact. And you know, I'm not in favor of demolishing now the world order because of that fact. But I'm just saying that we as Europeans need to draw conclusions from this and to say, okay, obviously America is not anymore somebody to rely on. So which means that we need to find a way to deal with Russia on our own. And the things are already changing in Europe heavily. That Germany has abandoned basically their long-standing policy of 80 years of these debt breaks of some percent of the GDP, and this debt break can be broken to buy weapons, not to invest in green energy, but to buy weapons. And that is, in a sense, quite scary to know like that Germany will be rearmed with 1,800 billion euros over the next 8 years. And but that is the price to pay. For the last 70 years, somebody else was taking care of your security. So but it's also that I think that the point of all of this is not to make Russia more aggressive, but to try to deter Russia and to dissuade Russia of going forward. And I also think that is very important that Europe has been deciding in the recent months that Ukraine will not be let to stand alone. And that is also very important, that they did not get immediately scared from the Trump policies, but they say, okay, we will try to organize ourselves better and to keep supporting, because as President Zelensky was saying to Trump in the Oval Office, you are, and then it was horrible conversation. It was not even a conversation. But he did say one truth, yes, you are far away, you have 2 oceans that is, protecting you somehow from it. But, Russia is very real over there. And this is a post-imperialist, well, this is the first imperialist war after, let's say, 1912, 1914. So after 100 years, we have America did bomb all around the world, but, you cannot say that America was taking other people's land and took it for themselves, did not expand. Now we have some thoughts on this, but we did not have it before. What Russia is doing is a land grab, like old style imperialist land grab. And in Europe, we get scared of this. Polish, Estonians, Latvians, these are the countries that can be taken in one day. Literally, they're very small. And the thing is that it's a great fear in Eastern Europe, particularly. When you go to speak in Madrid with someone, well, they're already it's far away. Do we really need to spend? Or in the Netherlands, do we really need to spend? Well, it's not going to be us, But in Eastern Europe, the fear is real. And I think that they managed to organize something, and we will see how it will play out. Of course, I'm not happy that, that the money that should be invested in the greener future, in sustainable jobs, in something that will create really a better livelihoods for people, will be spent on tanks and, missiles and, what kind of technological, military equipment. But that is where we are, and what happens in Washington matters obviously for the world, and your votes matter for the world, and it's like a butterfly effect. Somebody sneezes in Washington, the whole world is going upside down. So think about it. You're here, you're citizens, you have a voting rights.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much. Okay. Okay, so I will find a way for us to stay connected. Everybody is interested to find ways to connect, reconnect, whatever. We want to be informed. Whenever you're back, come see us. We wish you good luck today in your meetings on Capitol Hill and all the best in Serbia.
Thanks, you.
And we'll
No, you'll feel it.
root you on from here.
Thank you so much.
Hvala vama. Stvarno ste nam, imala sam 1000 pitanja.
Hvala.